Well, welcome to the latest edition of Spireites Extra Time. Sorry, it's a little bit later on this week, but we've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, the departure of Danny Webb. We've got the mkdons home match to feature. There was a fans forum last night, and there's also the Bromley game coming up on Saturday as well. Paul Fisher and Liam Norcliffe with you for this episode. As always, I'm sat looking like a hostage, aren't I, in this video here, Liam? But yeah, it's been an interesting week. Lots sort of going off the field with the club as well as trying to establish themselves on the field. They're now four without a win though, which is it's not it's a minimum concern, isn't it? Really, I think. But yeah, first of all, we'll start with Danny Webb because there's a lot been spoken about him and what a great guy he was.
Yeah, he was certainly popular amongst the media pack, wasn't he? We really appreciated his time with the interviews that he gave. Done it for a number of years now, and it was always a great interviewee as well. You could ask him anything; he would always give an honest answer. He's very articulate, very very popular, very approachable, very likable. Um, and he'll be missed, won't he? We've heard from Gary Roberts in the pre-match presser talking about how he'll miss him and how he could lean on him as someone to go to for advice. But Danny's always had ambitions to be a manager himself, and he sees Yeovil as a good opportunity for him. A club that he played for briefly during the sort of mid 2000s, but his dad was also a manager there and an owner. So a club which has got some history with the Webb family, a club which has got ambitions to get back into the football league. Of course, it was a club which probably is a good few years now, not that long ago, was in the Championship, which
Yeah,
is still quite hard to believe, to
I
be
know.
honest. Um, so a good opportunity for him. I think he's the word in the Spireites camp is he's claiming the win on Saturday, which was a 1-0 win against Woking in the last minute. He was in the stands, came down, I think, around the dressing room or pitch level at half time and full time with a few words of wisdom. So I think he's claiming that first win. I think if they'd have lost, then they'd have had nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah.
But his first game is this weekend, isn't it? Away at Tamworth, where of course he'll come up against Hayden Hollis, who's a former Spireites player and academy coach. But yeah, I think we're all Yeovil fans now as well, aren't we? We're keeping an eye on their scores and matches, and I found myself watching a few of Danny Webb's interviews already so far, and he seems to have already made a positive impression amongst the fan base. What are you making of it all?
Yeah, I think that he was always quite affable to talk to, wasn't he? He was always a laugh and a joke. We'd even, speak off air with him, wouldn't we? For a while, I think we sat with him, didn't we, at an AGM, didn't we? For a time, we sat at the back and had conversations, and it was always a delight, even when they'd just been beaten. I interviewed him after the Wembley playoff loss, and he was downbeat. He was really, but the fact that he came to speak to me anyway was credit to him for that because Paul Cook doesn't speak to BBC Radio Sheffield, so and other press as well. I should add as well. It's not just BBC Radio Sheffield, but he's grateful with his time to do that. Danny Webb, he didn't have to. He didn't have to do that at all. So yeah, really, really, really sad that he's left. But I'm absolutely like I couldn't see him going to be a manager. But he's kept that sort of hidden a little bit that he really was wanting to become a manager again. Maybe he got the bug when he was at Leyton Orient under Justin Edinburgh for a while. But
Mm.
I think him going to Yeovil is a massive opportunity because they could be a really big club. They've got a big catchment area, aren't they? They're on their own virtually. So, if they get it right there, then they could, as you alluded to, they got to the championship. So, they beat Nottingham Forest in that playoff semi-final, didn't they?
Mm.
Spectacularly so, and got to the final and got promoted. So, former Paddy Madden was playing with the Yeovil then, wasn't he? At that particular time, exactly, it's a good club, isn't it? The Hewish Park, and yeah, they could go forward, and hopefully Danny's the sort of man to take them forward and try and get into the Football League as well. They've got a job on this season, mind, but yeah, immediately you saw his post-match interview and on Saturday, where all the sort of behind the scenes thing they did on YouTube, and he's there giving out positive vibes, and there was a lot of swearing in it, weren't they? That he did as well. We didn't quite see that from Danny, but yeah, Gary Roberts was very very um, what's the word, praising of Danny, wasn't he, in his interviews post match and pre match as well. And typical that Chesterfield scored from a set piece, wasn't it? One of Danny's things that he did on Saturday as well. But yeah, he'll be missed, and he'll be always welcome, obviously, in Chesterfield, and no doubt hopefully he'll get to play Yeovil as well in the cup or something like that, and then we can get a chance to speak to him again as well. So but moving on to MK Don's game, Liam. Um, a hard fought draw against a side that's going to be up there, you'd say.
Yeah, well, it was. There wasn't much in the game, was there?
No.
It wasn't a classic. I don't think it will one that will live long in the memory. MK Dons got some good players on paper, but I think I was expecting more from them. I know they had a bit of a makeshift back line because they've got some injuries and suspensions. But after going a goal up, which was their only shot on target in the whole game,
Mm.
considering the talent they had on the pitch, I think I was expecting a bit more from them. I think they could have really took the game by the scruff of the neck and got a couple, to be honest. But yeah, I think it was a fair result in the end. Chesterfield were off it in the first half, weren't they? Gave it the ball away, didn't really create too much, barely anything really in terms of clear cut chances. Just that shot from Lewis Gordon, which was tipped over, and the Ponte Daly Campbell slicing one into the side
Mm.
netting. I say MK Dons didn't have anything either. I thought it was quite a reasonably entertaining game in terms of a tussle and a battle between both boxers, but there wasn't a lot of quality in the final third. And as you say, an equaliser from a set piece, which is they're proving significant already this season. We saw the goal against Bristol Rovers. I think they've scored, and the winner obviously against Harrogate. So that's 3 goals from corners. They've also scored a couple from free kicks. I think they've got 5 goals from set pieces already. Paddy Burns took over the set pieces now from Danny Webb. He'll be working alongside Bucky on those, and I think they were saying that they were really really nervous before the game against MK Dons because obviously they didn't want to be their first game in charge of the set pieces and to have a bit of a nightmare with those. But they've got off to a flying start, and it was a trademark near post flicked header from Tom Naylor, wasn't it? And that's Liam Mandeville's third assist now, which
Mm.
is probably off, and that's all off the bench. Just a one start against Crewe, and I think that's probably one of the talking points of the game afterwards. Is that Liam Mandeville is he now worthy of a start? With that energy and creativity in a silent minute. Chesterfield just not quite firing at the minute in the final third, are they?
No, that's right. Yeah, it's a good talking point about Liam Mandeville, isn't it? Because if you look back, he had a knee injury, a small knee operation in the summer. So he was a month behind. He got some minutes towards the back end of pre-season. So he's playing catch up by about 2 or 3 weeks, wasn't he now? So he's now gradually built up those minutes, hasn't he? And you'd say he's probably knocking, he should be knocking on the door for a start, really. I think. At least really if they want to be a bit of a rotation. But Cook's gone with the same three, hasn't he? Because he's had to, I think, in the last couple of games, hasn't he? So, but maybe Mandeville should be perhaps just pushing Dylan Markande for a start on that right hand side. Because Dylan's a bit off it at the minute this season. He's not quite the same player that we got at the start of last season. At present, that's probably going to change. Quality players do, don't they? So, but yeah, I think that Liam Mandeville could be one to possibly come in on Saturday against Bromley to make a start. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think he knows what Bromley's all about, doesn't he? Going down there and the physicality and how organised you have to be and how hard you have to work and what a battle it'll be. Maybe you could just try and stay in the game and then bring on someone like Mark Andy who might be able to create something against some more tired legs, maybe in the latter stages of the game. I think that just the presence of Will Grigg as well made a difference on Saturday. We've not seen too many starts from him, so I don't know whether it might be worth giving him a chance from the beginning as well. And Paul Cook did confirm last night at the fans forum that James Berry will be in the squad as
Okay.
well. So he's been training for the last couple of days with the first team, taking a little bit longer than what they would have hoped for, but he is back fully training now, and he is going to be in the squad as long as there's nothing happens Thursday, Friday ahead of the game. Probably won't start. I wouldn't have thought. Paul Cook's not really one to throw someone straight into the starting lineup, is he, after injury? But again, the thought of maybe bringing James Berry on in the last 20 minutes against Bromley if you need a goal, it's quite exciting. Not quite happening for Owen Darcy last couple of games, is it? Paul Cook again did say last night that he's struggling to find a little bit of space at that top end of the pitch. But we've certainly seen what he can do with that goal at Harrogate and other performances as well. Ryan Sturt was a surprise omission, wasn't he, from the team sheet? Obviously, understandable when you've heard that his partner had gone into labour just before the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, you did fear the worst a little bit. Central midfield, an area where Chesterfield have already got some injuries, and you're already a little bit stretched in there. So you certainly didn't want anyone else out, but thankfully, he's not injured. And I thought John Fleck did really well actually for
Yeah.
large spells of that game. I think he brought move the ball quickly and a smoothness to the midfield. And it's really surprising that he played the whole game, didn't he? And all 90
Yeah.
minutes. So I did think as the game was approaching that 70-minute mark, how long has he got left? But yeah, fair play to him. He got through it well. It was another. Well, we say it, don't we? It was another soft goal to concede again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
He's too easy, wasn't it? If you think about it, I know there was a couple of ricochets in there, which Gary Roberts alluded to, and the goal at Walsall was a ricochet off the shins, and yeah, perhaps McFadden sort of taken the man out and took a booking, but with that's by the by now. And there's a certain situation where yeah, maybe a little bit of luck is not going Chesterfield's way with conceding goals. Like they appear to be conceding easy goals, don't they? So
Yeah, it was a bit unlucky. Armando Dobra did win the ball back and then slipped, didn't he? And then, like I
mm,
said, it looks like there's a few tussles or deflections in there. So, but other than that, like I say, they didn't really create much else, did they? I think they had a
no,
Patterson header just wide early on. Like I said, just put out a couple of half chances themselves. But yeah, I think it was a fair result. mkdons, I was a little bit disappointed with them. I thought with the players that they had on the pitch, they would have offered a bit more. But maybe they sort of had it in their mind with that makeshift back line that they didn't want to sort of open themselves up too much. And obviously they've got a new team and new manager as well, so they're gelling as well, aren't they?
yeah, I was looking at their bench as well. They had three teenagers on the bench. That Paul Warren's really been hit by a lot of injuries. Collins is the one just coming back from injury, so. Yeah, they've got a few out as well. Some of their new signings as well is going to be out there. Who's the former Derby player? They've just signed the fullback. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
He's played two
Wilson,
games. Yeah, Wilson, Kane
Kane
Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah, he's played two games and now he's out until I think January.
Oh,
So
really?
so that's a worry for them going forward with injuries. So yeah, I think they're in that sort of stage, very similar to Chesterfield, where it's not quite clicked for them this season right now. One thing Chesterfield aren't doing though at home, whereas MK Dons, I think they've lost a couple at home now, is managing to get draws out of going a goal down. Chesterfield
Mm.
not getting the wins, but they're getting something out of the game. Having said that, they could have won it through Will Dixon when he went through at the
Mm.
back end, couldn't he, of the game? A good chance for the youngster there as well. But you just feel on the bench, I was looking at who the subs that were made. Tanton, Lewis, Dixon, Mandeville and Grigg came on. Um, Now, Grigg needs obviously somebody to supply him, and Mandeville supplied Naylor for the equaliser. But you think James Berry on that bench there with 20 minutes to go, it could have been a big difference for the Spireites with that and getting the 1 point, then getting the 3 points. I think he'll be a big factor going forward in the next couple of weeks.
He is someone who is lethal in front of goal, isn't he? His
Mm.
numbers were very impressive in the first half of last season, which is obviously why he did catch the attention of Wickham
Yeah.
and he got that move. Probably apart from probably Will Grigg, he is the most natural goal scorer. When he
Yeah.
does go through on goal, or he opens his body up to curl it into that far post on that left hand side, you do fancy him sort of 8, 9 times out of 10 to score. I think the club have uploaded a little clip, haven't they, of him in training this week, popping one in the top corner. So
Mm.
hopefully that's a sign of things to come. So if he can regain that form from the early part of last season, and then as we say, Dylan Marcandy comes into a little bit more. I mean, just on Marcandy, he's still 23 years old, isn't he? He's a young
Yeah.
player, and I think Paul Cook's spoken often about young players who they go through dips, don't they, and then they'll come back again. And this is just part of his development, part of his learning curve. He didn't play loads of football at the end of last season, did he? With Leighton Orient, I think he was not left on the bench quite often. So he's just probably just getting back up to speed again. And I think with Paul Cook's teams as well, they really do put their foot to the floor, don't they? In the second half of seasons, they tend to really click then. So it's still very much early days. You just want Chesterfield to stay amongst it, stay in the race. It is still very tight. One win and you can suddenly be top of the league or in the top three. You just don't want them to fall too far behind and give themselves too much to do. But I think it is very close. I think the League Two table looks exactly like what you would expect the League Two table to look like, in that there's really not much in it at all, is there?
No, not at all. I think it's 8 games in now, aren't we? So yeah, it's starting to take a shape, but you don't really sort of pick it up for another few weeks yet anyway, and see who's battling at the top and who's battling at the bottom really. So, but I'm glad to see Bromley up there as well. Always a side that I quite admire. I really like Andy Woodman as their gaffer. I know a lot of Chesterfield fans don't like the Bromley way or whatever it is, but you've got to respect it because they're a smaller club than Chesterfield, but done exactly the same. Got qualification into the EFL, and they've done it for the first time in their history. They're a long established club, and they're starting to make moves going forward as a club that they'll probably not get the massive support, because they're dwarfed a little bit by Crystal Palace down in that area of East London, South East London, but yeah, you've got to respect Andy Woodman and what he's done for the club. So I'm really looking forward to the game on Saturday. It's a long way down there, isn't it, Liam, to travel? So yeah,
We've only got one win down there as well, and
yeah,
that was during COVID. Luckily, I was one of the few who were allowed in the ground. I think it was Jack Clark who scored a late-ish winner, or it might have been George Carlyle. I think they both scored in that game.
yeah,
But yeah, they are always quite entertaining games. There's always a lot of goals between the two teams, especially down there. I think we've had a 4-2, maybe a 4. We had a
3-3.
4-3.
They're a 3-3.
We had
Yeah,
2-2 last season.
2-2.
So
Yeah,
they hurt us, and Chesterfield know how to hurt them.
yeah,
It's always a bit of a ding dong battle. It's always lively on the touchline. It always seems to be quite a bit of an atmosphere. There's a little bit of a, I don't say rivalry, but there's a little bit of spikiness because we've played each other that many times
yeah,
over the last few years. And you're coming up against the same sorts of players. You look at the Bromley team sheet on Saturday, and there'll be a lot of players in there who Chesterfield have come up against in previous season, and vice versa. Personally, I would take a point. I know it would be another game without a win, but I would definitely take a draw down there. What about you?
uh, yeah. I'd say you'd start with that basis, wouldn't you? Really, I wouldn't if Chesterfield with James Berry have just got that extra little bit of quality to try and grab the win. But we'll have to wait and see. But massive respect for Bromley as well, and there's mutual admiration between both clubs, isn't there? Really, definitely. So it's always spikiness, but I don't think there's any sort of meanness, is there, after the game? There's never any sort of they said. this and they said that, isn't there? There's always a lot of respect from the clubs, and it's all out there on 90 minutes on the pitch. We've seen brawls after the game, haven't we? With the
Mhm.
kit man at Chesterfield, etc. We've seen Andy Woodman sent off twice, I think, at the SMH Group Stadium. He's been given the red card. We've seen Paul Cook have arguments with everybody down there as well, and he's getting a yellow card, and it's quite feisty at times out there, but it's generally we've done a lot of mutual respect, I think, as well for Bromley going forward, and yeah, it should be an interesting battle. So last night, Chesterfield had a fans forum, very well attended. I understand, Liam. You
Mhm.
were there, I was not. Just talk us through. Well, first and foremost, the new hospitality lounge. So was that
Mhm.
was that really good?
Yeah, that is looking really smart. That area of the stadium now. Ashley Kirk was asked about it, and it's just it's something that they'd wanted to do just to brighten it up a bit, give it a bit more of a modern feel. I think it's about 300 grand that they've spent on it in total, in terms of that whole sort of little bit with the toilets, the lighting, the flooring, the big screen, just the whole offering. And I think Ashley said that now they take £2,000 more every match day, which is just a nice little starting point for them, in terms of the improvements that they've made. So it's already starting to pay itself back a little bit. Yeah, it was really well attended. The third kit was revealed, and the comments online, from what I've seen, are all positive about it. I think that's going down well. It's available to buy online. The club shop on Thursday as well. When that reopens, people could go down there and get it from there.
They could have used an iron on the promo feature, though.
Okay. They had Armando Dobra and Lee Bonis modelling it.
How did they? All right.
Um, they got asked a couple of questions which they weren't they weren't anticipating any question. I think the deal was that they would come down and wear the kit as long as they didn't have to answer any questions from fans, but they ended up answering a couple, bless them. But yeah, lots of good topics. There was probably quite a lot of repeats from because it was only March that we had the last fans forum, so there was a few repeats. But Ashley said a few nice words at the beginning about, obviously, Phil passing away, and just said his thank yous to everyone for all the support that him and his family have had, and gave details about they're having a private ceremony down in Richmond next Tuesday for Phil at 11 o'clock. And I think it's going to be being back at the stadium, and the players are going to be attending. And fans are welcome to come along, I believe, and pay their respects as well. They can't have everyone obviously down there at the time, so it's an opportunity for fans to come and pay their respects if they want to do that. Probably the most biggest talking point was a question about the Phil's legacy and the future of the club, which I thought was quite interesting. In that, Ashley said that Phil's wife Sharon is basically going to be the owner of the club now, and obviously Ashley will be the chairman. And maybe Phil's legacy was to get the club back into League One. That's what he wanted, and to stabilise them in League One, and to improve the training ground a little bit more, get some more facilities on there, like a proper gym. And then, who knows after that? They might not they might not have the finances to take it on, because they are making a losses now. And they have done for a few years, so they might not be able to take it on into the championship, because the level of finance needed is huge, isn't it? So
Mm.
he did sort of, the words different owner were mentioned. He was put on the spot a little bit, and he made it clear that he was just giving his opinion. He wasn't speaking for Sharon. But yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years time, there could be a fresh investment, or maybe a new owner coming in. But I think you'd back them to find the right person. I don't think they'd just sell to anyone, would it? They wouldn't be in that position. I think they'd leave it in safe hands. But it didn't sound like anything was imminent, or or anything like that. He did say not, it's not in the near future. So I think he's thinking more long term. But he did say that was Phil's that was probably the plan anyway, to bring some extra investment in. The higher they went up, more and more money is needed now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you certainly sort of left the fans forum, with that ticking over in your mind. Paul Cook was asked about changing formation, four four.
God.
Can you play two up front?
No.
Which obviously got a few laughs, and he said, look, he's got a lot of respect for playing two up front, but he did laugh and say that's not going to happen. He said he might use it every now and again. Maybe, probably, I think he was referring to in latter stages of games, but you're not going to see two up front from a Paul Cook side. He's made his point about most of the teams that he's managed and obviously he's been successful at. They've all been the top or in and around the top goal scorers in the division, just playing one up front. So it's not like his teams necessarily need more goals. And talked about how in the modern day game, teams do not play two up front. So you play two up front, you'd be outnumbered in midfield, for example. So yeah, that got a few chuckles. As did the there was another question about as we've all discussed, about maybe needing some more pace at the back, which he acknowledged was a fair question, but he did sort of make the point that the goals that Chesterfield are conceding are not because of a lack of pace. They're conceding because they are giving the ball away, high up the pitch, and individual errors, I think, was the main base of his answer. Basically, he says we stop the individual errors, we'll stop conceding goals. He said, look, you don't see any players, bursting past, let's say, for example, Shea Dunkley or Carl McFadzean, and doing them for pace and scoring, as being the sole reason for conceding a goal. It's more that they give the ball away and are probably a little bit open or get hit on the counter attack or someone makes an error. So, and obviously he did mention the arrival of a new centre-back in January, of course, in Malik Olawelu-Belewu, if I've got that right.
Oh, well, I'll beat Belewu. Well done. Yes, you did well there. Well done.
Yeah, which Paul Cook joke there, he's arriving in January, so that's a long flight, as in he's still on the plane now.
I think some fans want him on the plane now, don't they? So yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, in the midst of it, Liam, in the midst of it, you also get the traditional question about chicken and chips.
Yeah. I was going to come to that. Yeah, it was fantastic. You cannot beat a fans forum. I think Graham Smith always tells a story. The journalist who covered the Derbyshire Times for me, about Dave Allen sort of resigning resigning as chairman, resigning from the board.
Yeah.
And the next question was about vaping in the stadium. So last night we had a question about a lack of pace at the back, and then the follow-up question was, can we have chicken and chips around the rest of the ground? When is that going to be extended? So you've got to laugh, because sometimes we get a bit of stick, don't we, for maybe, can you ask this? Can you ask that? And then when it comes to the fans forums, nobody asks anything that they've said. So that got a few laughs, and the answer was that they're working on it. There could be.
All right.
It's going well so far. There could be chicken and chips around the ground in every stand. As they go along.
I'll tell you now.
That was the main headline. That was the main headline.
The press won't get that chicken and chips. I tell you now that there'll be nowhere near the chicken and chips. So, did you get any exclusives from it or anything for take forward for the week? Or
I think, like I say, Paul Cook said about James Berry definitely being in the squad. Talked about he answered the questions about the formations, the lack of pace at the back. Gave his sort of overall opinion on the season as, they're not firing at the minute, they're not clicking, they're not particularly playing very well, but it's early days and they're sixth in the table. He says they're in an okay position, but there's improvements to be done, was his school report, as he said. Yeah, and then there were lots of little questions, about the women's team, other
Yeah.
little bits about improvements maybe around the stadium and things like that. But yeah, well attended, and a nice evening. And yeah, and the third kit looks smart. So yeah, I think everyone got their opportunity to ask questions what they wanted, and I think that the top table, John Crute was there as well. Did really well in answering them as honestly as they could.
Yeah, it's good to see, isn't it? And I think they have to have a couple every year. I think these fans forums, but yeah, they're well attended generally, and yeah, the chance to get some information about that, that they can quiz the manager with, of course, and yeah, and he's always good for a bit of PR at times, isn't he, Paul Cook? Even though he doesn't
Mm.
do it on a weekly basis. So yeah, it's obviously been a sad time for the Kirk family over the course of the past few months as well. But hopefully everything goes well for them going forward, and especially next Tuesday for the funeral as well. But yeah, so Bromley then on Saturday, we've just touched on them before. As I say, always a difficult game. 2-2 last season on a Tuesday night, a wet Tuesday night. Will Grigg got a couple of goals, and we think he'll start on Saturday. I would have thought Will Grigg. It seems like a Will Grigg type of game, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, it probably depends on fitness, doesn't it? I think that's probably half the reason why he's not quite got as many starts as what he might have ordinarily. Yeah, start for him, start for Liam Mandeville, James Berry to be included in the squad. Suppose the decision to be made whether you bring Ryan Stirk back in,
Mm.
which is probably a bit of a harder decision than what it might have been because of the form
Against his
not
former
there.
club, it makes his former
Yeah,
club, so he might do. So yeah.
but yeah, I think probably you would want Ryan Stirk to come back in because I'm thinking about Bromley and the needing legs to get around second balls and things like that. That could be a bit more of his game, and then maybe you could bring John Fleck on if you're needing a goal to maybe open them up a little bit. But yeah, you might need Stirk's legs and to start with, and then I think it'll be the same back four and goalkeeper, isn't it? They're building up even though the individual errors aside, building up some relationships now. They're eight games together in the league. I don't see any reason why that would change at the minute. So yeah, maybe Sturt back in, maybe Manaville, maybe Grigg, James Berry on the bench. Dylan Duffy could be back as well. Maybe he could be back on the bench. Um, so he's missed the last couple, hasn't he? And he's someone he's got 5 goal contributions. So again, you want to get him back involved. So yeah, some selection headaches.
Indeed, and you'll find some team news as well on Liam's page on Derbyshire Times on Friday morning. I think there'll be an interview with Gary Roberts. Has that been discussed yet? Whether the pre-match will be done with Gary at
Well,
all on
it'll
Friday?
definitely be on Friday morning.
Yeah,
I think the way that they're going to do it now is they're having a bit of a rota. So I think one week's Gary Roberts, then it could be Paddy Byrne or Kieran Dyer, and I think they're going to do it between the three of them rather than having it as one person. So we'll hear from a different voice each week. So yeah, not sure who it will be at the minute, but yeah, Friday morning there'll be some pre-match stuff on the DT's website, and of course you'll have your interview on BBC Radio Sheffield as well, won't you?
yeah, that's right. So Liam will have, if he managed to get Paul Cook for 1 week, Radio Sheffield will have an exclusive with Paddy Byrne, Gary Roberts, or somebody else, Kieran Dyer maybe. So yeah, that'll be on BBC Sounds as well, the Chesterfield page there. Just check that out, and you'll get all your content, all your audio going straight to your phone. And as I say, Liam's page, Derbyshire Times, and we'll both be there on Saturday at Bromley, and we'll obviously get all the sort of team news for you from around 2 o'clock. I think it's actually 1:45, isn't it? From
Mm.
for now, don't they? The team news gets announced. So, thanks very much, Liam. Please
Thank
like
you.
and subscribe. We're getting some great viewings, some great subscribers, some great comments coming back. We do read them, and thank you very much for joining in. We like doing this; it's good, and we'll have more stuff for you, more content as the season goes on. So, thanks very much.